We're here at Computex 2025 in the Lian Li booth where they have sponsored a video for us to look at a whole bunch of their cases, and this one right here is incredible. You know the O11D, it is the most copied, the most popular case on the market, and they have made it smaller, but not dumb this time. The V2 is fantastic. The innovation here is a bulge, which allows them to fit a full ATX power supply in this. You might remember that the previous Mini O11D, you're only able to put an SFX power supply in it, which really limited your options. Those are more expensive. If they're from Cooler Master, they explode. But this one right here, you can put whatever you want into it. Look at that. So they have this tiny little bulge on the back of the case, and then you have a bracket that slides the whole thing out. So you attach that and it goes in, and it sort of fits. It mostly fits, like it does. Another thing that's cool is down here where you have your hard drive cages, they have found that a lot of people don't use hard drives anymore and instead just cram their cables into there. So the drive cage you're able to take and open up something like that, so you can very easily just put all of your cables in there and then just and you don't have to worry about them falling to the side of your case anymore. Also very nice, you can see there's this little gap right here, and with my hand in there I can feel a whole lot of airflow, and that's because they have these fans right here on about a 10-degree tilt. That allows for all of the air to come in the back and then get shot up straight into your GPU, really enhancing its cooling. There's also just so many little details that will make building in this case so much better than normal. So like, we have our front I/O right here. Maybe you don't want it in the front, you want it at the top. Well, very simple. There's this little top piece. You need to use 2 screws to pop it out and then it comes out, but then you can have top I/O if you so desire. Also, if you look right in here, there's a little bracket that you can move up and down that will support your 24-pin cable, because they found that in a lot of builds, the 24-pin cable kind of sags down and looks like crap generally. So this allows, no matter where the 24 pin is on your motherboard, for you to have that little bracket come in, prop it up, and it looks really nice and clean. Continuing in the spirit of making sure that everything stays nice and clean, they also have an anti-sag bracket right here for your horizontal GPUs, or if you have a vertical GPU, they have one that actually attaches to the 2 bottom fans to hold it up. The new O11D Mini V2 will be coming out in July, and it's $89.99 without any fans, or you can get 5 fans for $99.99, but they're not the RGB type. So if you want to be fancy like this, save 10 bucks and then spend another 90, I guess. Now, one problem Lian Li has been dealing with for many years is how do you put glass on the front of your case? On the O11, they were just like, let's put glass there and then fans on the side. And then other times they've gapped the fans, the glass, and had a little bit of airflow. And in 2025, they decided, screw it, we're putting fans into the glass. And that's what we have right here. This LANCOOL 217 Infinity, where we have a fan inside of an infinity mirror. And I think it looks freaking sweet. These 270mm fans can easily be serviced if you want to get all of the dust and gunk out of the filters, and the whole thing is controlled wirelessly, so you can, from their software, change all the colors and stuff, or you can just press right up here. I kind of like the white one. It seems kind of classy. Come on, where's a obnoxious one? Ah, darn, there's nothing really wild. We need rainbow puke, guys, come on. Another really cool thing about this case is that they have made access to your power supply way easier than normal. So you're actually able to rotate your entire power supply 90 degrees so that you have super easy access to all of your cables right here, and it doesn't create a huge mess. Now, you can only have up to 140mm power supply in this orientation, but of course, you can just put a big boy in the normal way. Not a big deal. The LANCOOL 217 Infinity will be dropping in October, an MSRP of $120 US, or $125 if you want the white version. But I know what you've been thinking this entire time. Why have 2 fans in the front? I need to have 3 fans in the front. And that's what we have got right here with the concept case of the LANCOOL 4. And you can tell by the number of fingerprints on it that it is very popular. These 3 fans are actually attached down at the bottom using pogo pins right down here. And you can see that's daisy chained up all the way with these guys right here. And they said that they did this curve on the front, first of all, to make it just really difficult for their manufacturing engineers, but also to give the case a much slimmer look because it is kind of big. Another cool innovation about this case is they actually mounted the power supply vertically, which freed up a whole bunch of room down in the bottom here. So they're able to fit 3 120mm fans that have air going in, so there's nice fresh stuff for your GPU so it's not getting too hot there. Or it could be really fun to do some water cooling stuff down there. Like I could see having maybe a radiator and a pump down there, or like a pump reservoir combo, water cool it all up. You could have a really sick looking machine, especially with the way that the glass wraps right around the side and you have this huge viewing area right here. But you don't have to have that huge viewing area. So far we've been looking at a config that is designed around a back to front motherboard, so it is incredibly clean. But if you don't have one of those, or you have an eATX motherboard, there's this big removable bit on the side that will allow you to easily hide all of your cables. One thing that you might have also been thinking about is if you have glass that wraps all the way around, hiding all of your cables might be a bit of a pain in the arse, but fortunately, they have a really nice cable management hiding thing back here. Geez, she just fell right apart. Tuck everything right in there. The LANCOOL 4 is still a prototype, so if you guys have any ideas of what you want to see in this case, let them know down in the comments. But that said, they do plan on releasing it around October for about $130. Now, one kind of weird thing in this booth that is also what I am the most excited about is this vertical GPU bracket. It has so much configurability, so you can move it up or down. You can have a little bit of an angle on your GPU for better airflow or just looking better. It has really nice integration into your PCIe brackets, and also they have a PCIe Gen 5 version if you have a really fast GPU in your PC. Oh, and there's RGB. I really like this because it allows you to sort of slap a GPU wherever you want in your case, and you don't have to worry about it looking too funky. And I cannot wait to put a whole bunch of holes in this guy right here, bolt it into something it was never supposed to be on, and there's another little bracket that goes right there that I'm sure you can 3D print something to attach to literally anything. This universal bracket is expected to launch in July. It's going to be $60 for PCIe Gen 4 or $80 for PCIe Gen 5, and I have already asked them for 10 of them. I'm going to use a whole bunch. It is sweet. Maybe though you want a case that's a little bit smaller, which is where the new DanCase B4 comes in. This guy right here has a whole whack of computer crammed into a really small little case. We've got our full ATX power supply, great big air cooler, and a GPU that's slammed right down at the bottom, but you can fit a 4 slot in here if you really want to. But that said, I don't know, this is like a pretty normal DanCase, but a little bit bigger. Why would you want that when you could make it even more bigger with the vertical configuration? This right over here is the same case, but with all of the problems fixed, and I personally think it looks way sweeter. They basically took the whole case and rotated it 90 degrees, and then on the bottom threw a whole bunch of fans, which I have to say looks really cool. And they also gave you a whole bunch of room for water cooling. So if you look in right here, they have used some of the extra space on the bottom to fit a full 360mm AIO that goes down through the bottom, and you can see right down here they have this little area where some airflow and the tubes go. The DanCase B4 is expected to launch in October for $100, and it seems like a really good option if you want something that looks really cool and also is very hard to service. Moving on, we have the Vector V200. It's a pretty average looking case here. We have some capacitive touch for power and the fans, but if you turn it around, we have got an 8.8-inch screen, which you can put whatever you want onto it. It's controlled through Lian Li software, and you can put videos on it, your temperature and stuff, or even another Windows display if you happen to want one down there. This thing is also very neat because they have put in a whole bunch of time and attention to make it so that your AIO tubes are very hidden. You can see that these just go straight up, and they have a bunch of adjustable brackets up top so that those tubes are held out of the way instead of, you know, sometimes they just sort of like all in front of your computer. The Vector V200 is expected to launch in September for $110, which is a pretty good deal given that they will also sell you just the 8.8-inch screen for $85. It does come with this really cool bracket though, 120, 140mm fans. You can move it all the way around so you can have it in perfect orientation. It is pretty sick. But I know what you're thinking. You don't just want a screen on the side of your computer somewhere, you want a screen on your AIO. Okay, very cool, they put a screen on the AIO, what's so interesting with that? They also put a motor behind the screen on your AIO so it can move around to exactly where you want it, and depending on where you're sitting, you can go into the software and turn it to look perfect, because You can get these 3D effects, but it only really looks 3D if you're looking at it from the correct angle. So this way, you can get it perfect every time. This is the HYDROSHIFT 2 LCD curved. We have a 2K resolution on the display, and also we have a bunch of nice little brackets to keep the tubes out of the way of your build, as has been tradition in many of these. It's expected to drop in Q4 of 2025 for $270, and as far as gimmicks go, this one's one of the silliest I've seen. Speaking of things that move in unexpected ways, here we have their new RS series power supply, standing for rotational shift. Whoa, that's right, the whole power connector right here for your AC source is able to rotate 90 degrees, allowing you to either have it in your traditional layout with your connectors at the front, or you can turn it right here so that you have all of your connectors on the side. That allows for much easier plugging in, unplugging, and they even have a little fan hub that you can just slap on right like that. The RS series of power supplies is expected to launch sometime in Q3, starting at $155 for the 1000-watt version. So huge thanks to Lian Li for sponsoring this video. They have a whole bunch of other cool stuff, RGB fans, all of that goodness, so you can go and check that out on their website. And huge thanks to you for watching. Hit like, get subscribed, and just have a great old day. I'll see you at the next booth.